introspection. But I wanted to ask was because some people realize that introspection is beneficial for them, but they still tend to avoid it or are afraid to go deeper within themselves. So I wanted to ask, why do you believe or why do you think that people might be afraid of introspection, or why do people avoid it?
A number of things, though. What I see, number one, would be, like I said before, that people look for validation from others. So throughout a lifetime of that, that means a person always feeling insecure to embrace themselves and accept how vulnerable they are, how much flaw they have. Because eventually, actually, everybody has flaw, but it's not everybody who can accept that they has a flaw to move on from that. And because of that, a lot of people are afraid to accept who they are. And that's why everybody create this image that's illusion that look like me. And everybody think of this image as me and try to protect the image so hard instead of accepting who they are. And that make introspection and realizing themselves, in the other words, very, very hard because they don't want to embrace who they are and how, that life is not like this picture perfect they were creating. Secondly, my master said there are two kinds of people in the world. Don't know that they don't know and know that they don't know. The first one is, they don't know that they don't know anything. So they don't know that they don't even know themselves. So that's why they never care to look inside themselves, to introspecting at all. They think they know what it is about themselves already. So that's actually what makes it really, really hard. Us are the people who know that I don't know anything about myself. So I want to know more about it. And that is actually a second stage. And that's why to open it up, it takes a lot of more moments for them to look inside until they started to see a glimpse of it. Because the moment they see within is not as scary as they believe it would be. It's actually become more accustomed to it, friendlier, rather than being hostile to that. And then started to accept it. Because in order to solve the problem, we have to admit the problem, accept the problem, and realize that we have it in order to resolve them. But if we kept rejecting it, we never really face it. So we always on the flight mode, running away.
Yeah, it's very important to acknowledge an issue before you can learn to accept them.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. This is one last question. What do you believe consciousness is? If you have an answer for that.
In our context, the consciousness is the mind, and the mind is not the body. It's not the brain. It's not the heart, because the mind is different. For us, we explain this different element that has ability to think, memorize, perceive, and to know. So when you are conscious of something, because the mind perceive and go through every thinking process until become realization of something. So that is the consciousness. It needs to work with the body because the brain is like an office for the mind. So it has a kind of like a software and hardware. The mind or the consciousness is the software and the brain is the hardware. So kind of connect to each other, but not exactly the same thing. That's how we explain it. The key point is we can always upgrade the software, which is the consciousness of the mind, but the hardware tend to stuck the way it is ever since we grew up. So it's not easy to kind of upgrade the hardware. So we can always focusing on upgrading the software with the hope that it will stimulate or enhancing or optimizing the hardware.
Okay. Well, that was the last question that I had, but thank you for the answers.